Hey Sophia, thanks a lot for your response. Um, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, and I'm glad you're interested enough in how I'm, not necessarily critiquing, but how I'm just trying to relate to what you said. I'm glad that you're finding what I have to say worth considering, and I think I understand pretty well where you're coming from. And I'm going to start at the end of your video when you asked what I think spirituality is, and hopefully I'll get into what I think about the rest of what you said. Um, and in a sense, the word spirituality is the most loaded word in the English language, especially at this particular time in our history. It can mean so many things. There are such a variety of ways of interpreting it, and I don't necessarily want to limit the range of those possible interpretations of this word spirituality. But I'm going to, because otherwise we don't have anything to talk about, and it's worth talking about. Not because what I say is even my own final opinion, especially not because it's the truth and can't be questioned by anybody else. I'm just talking about it as it seems to be the case to me right now. So right now, I think a good way to try to start understanding spirituality is to define it negatively, to say what it's not. And this gets us into some of what you said. Spirituality is not religion as you were understanding it. And I think you were understanding it as a bit of a caricature of those who take religion seriously, and or who experience religion in a deep way and not a shallow way where God is basically uh, synonymous with um, Santa Claus, or a man in the sky with a beard and who gives us presents if we're good. Um, that Anybody who really literally believes that is probably delusional, and I'll agree with you there. I don't think that there are many of those people, though, because if you really believe that, you couldn't really function in our society, because you just come into conflict with too much of what we do on a day-to-day basis as, you know, civilized people. And this is a problem because there are some fundamentalists who do disagree fundamentally with what we do on a day-to-day basis. And this is why we have terrorists. This is why there are certain groups of fundamentalist Christians in the United States trying to get creationism taught in public schools, or certain sects that are bombing abortion clinics, or whatever. Any religious group that is willing to resort to violence in order to um, assert their beliefs on others, to impose them on others, is delusional. And luckily it's the minority, but it's a destructive minority, and I agree with you there, and it's a problem. But it's not where the majority of religious people are. Um, we have to recognize that, I think, and as people who are not committed to any particular religion, which I don't know if you see the Buddhist Thanka on my wall back there, but I'm not necessarily committed to Buddhism. I just orient myself spiritually with it because I think it represents, below the surface, something very similar to what Christianity or Judaism or Islam or any other religion represents, below the surface level of just the images or the particular characters that are projected onto a deeper level of meaning. So Buddhism was attractive to me because it was new and foreign and exotic, and it expressed the core truth of what Christianity was trying to express, but minus all that cultural baggage, that the sedimentation of my own inheritance from Christianity that had built up over the years, that was in a sense almost suffocating itself So Buddhism was a way of getting back to the essence through comparison. I understand Buddhism only in relation to my Christian um, upbringing. So already there's that cross fertilization. I could never be a Buddhist in the essential uh, sense of that term because I wasn't born in India or China or Japan. Um, and then, even if I was, what's the essence of Buddhism? There's different sects of Buddhism, just like there's different sects of every other religion. So, practicing a particular religion seriously, such that it is spiritual and not just some shallow, deluded fantasy, implies that. What does it imply? It's that you recognize your experience as, first of all, beautiful, second of all, purposeful inherently. Not that you don't help to bring that purpose to fruition. It's not predetermined or given to you by something outside yourself, but there is a purpose to your existence. Otherwise, you would kill yourself. There would be no reason for you to wake up tomorrow. So, being spiritual means recognizing the beauty, the purpose, the possibility of knowledge. So, you can be scientific and want to know about nature and still be spiritual. In fact, in the way I mean this term spiritual, most scientists are quite spiritual in that they acknowledge the mystery of nature and they want to know. And they also acknowledge the beauty of it. Even mathematicians, who you think are dealing with these very abstract, logical symbols, are in it for the aesthetic experience in a very important sense. They find math beautiful. So there's beauty, there's purpose, and there's goodness. We feel a certain call to act in the service of others, and it's rewarding in itself, not because we get something out of it, though we always do, but because we are the other. And that's another part of spirituality, is sort of recognizing that separations are always an illusion. Not that everything is the same. You can make distinctions between me and you, and there are individuals, there is autonomy, but there's no separation. There's no absolute difference. Distinction, but no difference, no separation, no gap. When we communicate with other people, we change them and they change us. There's no me over here communicating with another me over there. No, when the me's communicate, they're a we. The whole situation becomes inverted. It's not a subject and a subject relating through these objective verbal, vibrations through the air or written symbols. There's actually a deeper relationship than that brings us into a single moment of experience where we're no longer separate subjects. And this is true not only of human beings, but of animals, plants, and the world in general as it exists around us. I and the world, or like my channel name, ThouArtThat. It's a reference to this notion of non-duality, and spirituality is definitely based in this idea. But again, it doesn't mean everything's the same. It just means there's no separation between anything. Everything bleeds into everything else. I help to make you what you are, just as you help to make me what I am. And you can never escape that relationship. Relationship is more fundamental than distinction, than individuality. It's not that individuality doesn't exist. It's just that it arises out of relationship. So all of this is a part of spirituality for me, and I think it's different than religion in that there's no set system of rules. I don't. The Eightfold Path that the Buddha or his disciples wrote down has some pretty specific rules about right livelihood and not eating certain types of foods and so forth, and I don't strictly obey that, but it's the spirit behind the law that's important, I think. So spirituality is open in that sense. But time's running out. Thanks for your video.